Hi guys, and welcome to this video where I will show you step by step how to build an AI agent with Make.com. If you're not familiar with Make, it's a great platform for building AI agents that tightly integrate into your business process in a truly no-code and visual environment with thousands of app integrations and tools. Now in this video, I will cover how to create an AI agent in Make, how to connect that agent to an AI model. I will then explain the difference between a broad and a specialized agent and when to build which. We will then write the instructions of a broad agent, connect that agent to a chat platform so you and your team can easily interact with it. We will do some testing, then enhance that agent's utility by giving it some tools so it can actually do things in different platforms. We will then enable that agent to have memory so it can retain the context of a conversation and continue where it left off. We will then build a specialized agent and connect that specialized agent to a business automation. So it is a long video, but I aim to cover everything that you'll need to get started. Feel free to pause and come back whenever you need to, but I do encourage you to build as you go along so you more easily absorb all the concepts and you have a working agent by the end of the video. Now, if at any point you have any questions, I encourage you to join my community by clicking the link below this video where you can ask all your questions. With that said, let's dive right in. All right, so here I am in my Make.com account. And to create an agent, all you need to do is just click on this bubble here, and then you can search for agent in the pop-up here. And here's the Make AI agent app. Now, if I click on this, we have one module option, which is run an agent. So this is what enables us to create an agent. And that's our agent created. Now, to set up the agent, we need to click on the agent. And the first thing we need to do is set up a connection to an AI model. Now, what's cool about a Make agent is that you have the option to connect to any AI model you want. It's not like you're restricted to only using OpenAI or Anthropic models. If I click here on Add Connection, you can see that there's a list of models I can connect to. We have OpenAI, we have Anthropic, we have Gemini, Azure, the list goes on. And you even have the option to connect to OpenRouter, which then unlocks the possibility to connect to pretty much any AI model that is out there. Now, the easiest way to get started with a Make agent, if you don't want to go through the process of connecting to a model provider, is to use Make's AI provider. And this is basically a built-in connection that Make has to Anthropic and OpenAI models. So if I select this one, you can see here I'm able to select a model, and in this drop-down I have the OpenAI models and then the Anthropic models. And this is by far the easiest way to get started because you don't need to go and get API keys from anywhere. You just select this, and then each request that you make to the AI model gets charged through your Make.com subscription. So I'll use this method for this example, and now I will move on to writing the instructions for my agent. Now, the instructions will tell our agent what to do. And to define these instructions, we first need to figure out what it is that we actually want the agent to do, which is half the battle, because the way I see it is that you can either have broad agents or you can have specialized agents, and each one has its pros and its cons. A broad agent will enable you to do more because it has less guardrails. It has less steps that it needs to follow every time that it gets triggered. So it gives you the ability to define on the go what it is that you want it to do. It's kind of like a personal assistant that has a lot of knowledge but doesn't have a defined task list. The benefit of this agent is that it can do more, but the drawback is that you need to give it more context every time you trigger it and instructions on how to accomplish the task. And this is not efficient if you want the agent to do the same thing every time, right? On the other hand, we have the specialized agents, which are much more constrained because we give them specific instructions they need to follow each time in order to generate an expected outcome. Now, the benefit of these agents, of course, is that the outcome is much more predictable. So it's great if you want to embed them into a business critical workflow, an automation that is already highly defined, and you just want to have like an agentic element into it. For example, if you have an automation that gets triggered whenever a new customer support ticket comes in, and you want to have an agent that decides which department or individual to route that request to based on the type of the issue, it doesn't make sense to have a broad agent that, I don't know, will generate a poem or a random text every time that it receives a request. You need a specialized agent that it has a very specific job to do. Read the ticket, decide from a list of departments which one is the best to assign the ticket to, and then automate that process, right? That's when like a specialized agent really shines, and that's when you really need it. Now, the drawback with a specialized agent is that you're building something that can only do one thing. Therefore, if you want to automate multiple tasks, you need multiple agents. Now, I'll start off by building a broad agent, and then we can refine it to turn it into a specialized agent later on, so you can see how I think of the two types of agents. So to start off, I'm going to say I want you to be a market researcher. I will give you instructions on the tasks that I want you to automate, and you will use the tools that you have access to in order to complete the task and give me the output I asked for, right? So high level here, I am telling it that it needs to be a market researcher. I am telling it that it needs to use the tools and the instructions that I provide, but I'm not giving it the instructions up front, right? I'm not putting it into its configuration. Now, a broad agent like this one, which gives you the flexibility to automate a variety of different tasks, is often useful to integrate with a chat platform and use it more like an assistant. For example, on one day you might say, hey, I want you to perform market research on my competitors. Here's my company info. Find me all the competitors that are in the same space as me, and give me like a detailed breakdown of their products, right? So that could be one request. And then on another day, you might say something like, perform research on the topic of content creation automation, find me the latest tools and tutorials on this topic. So chat gives you the flexibility to easily delegate tasks to your agent while you're doing your day-to-day work. And what's even cooler is when you can give that same flexibility to your team members, right? So in this next part of the video, I'm going to show you how to integrate this agent with Slack, which is a very popular chat collaboration platform for teams. Now, the same principles would apply if you chose to integrate this agent with other chat platforms like Telegram or WhatsApp, and you can let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a tutorial specific on that connection. Now, the next thing I need to define here is the input. So the input could be something static like perform market research on the topic of AI agents. So every time this scenario gets triggered, the agent will get this specific input and it will perform research on AI agents. So there's no variability in the input here. Now, if you want this input to be dynamic, let's say that you want to be chatting with this agent and providing it with tasks that it needs to do, then this input data needs to come from another module. So let's say that I want to connect this agent to a Slack channel. What I need to do here is add a new module, search for Slack, and I need to find the watch events, new events module here, which is instant. So it means as soon as a new event is created in a Slack channel, then this scenario will get triggered and it will execute my agent. So I'm going to create a webhook here. And the event type will be a new message coming in to a private channel. Now you see I can trigger this from a direct message channel, from a public channel. In this example, I'm just going to go with a private channel. And what I need to do is create a connection with my Slack account. So I'm going to click there, save, and this will redirect me to my Slack workspace where I need to authenticate the Make app. So all the Slack interactions happen through a Make app. So by clicking this Allow button here, the Make app will be installed in my Slack workspace, and any message that is received in the channel that I'm now going to select in this dropdown will be forwarded to this make scenario. So what I did is I went here on Slack and I created a new private channel called Market Research Agent. Ignore these messages. I was just testing this before recording the video. But yeah, what you want to do is create a Slack, private Slack channel or a public one, depends on your use case. And then here you will be able to select it from the dropdown. So here it is, Market Research Agent. And this will now create a webhook, which means that it will listen to any new messages that come into that channel, and then they will be forwarded to this module here. Now, in order to make it a trigger module, I actually need to drag and drop this clock button right there, and it will turn it into this instant trigger icon, which basically means that it will get triggered right after it receives an event. And then I can connect this module to my agent. And I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to right click here, run this module. And I'm going to go to the channel. You need to make sure that the make app is part of the channel. So it's after you install the make app through the connection process that I showed you earlier, you actually need to tag the make app in here. And this will add it to the channel so you can see all the messages that get posted in there. Now, if I say something like hello, that should detect the event and send it to the make scenario, as you can see here. Now, what we need to do next is actually we need to do some filtering here. And the reason we need to do some filtering is because, actually, let me do that later so I don't confuse you. What we need to do is basically send this message to the agent, right? Because we want the agent to process it and do something with it. So what I'll do here is I'm going to go to the input and I'm going to choose this text element and pass it to the input field, right? So whatever value that text input has will now, whatever value that text element has will now get passed to the input here. The instructions, I need to, again, copy, paste them in there. I need to select Opus 4.8. The reason that it didn't save it is because I exited the configuration window earlier. If I click save now, it will get saved. Perfect. What I'm going to do is save the scenario and then run once again. And I'm going to say hello one more time. So the event comes in and you can see now that the agent gets triggered and it processes that input. If I click on this bubble icon here, I can see the agent's response, which was, hello, I'm your market researcher, ready to help you automate research tasks and deliver the outputs you need. Here are some things I can help you with. So this is the response that I now want to send back to Slack and add it into a thread. So to do that, I need to click here. I need to search for Slack again. And what I want to do is send a message. So clicking on Slack and then send message will show me the send a message module. I need to click on that and I now added it to the scenario. Now the channel that I want to send the message to is again that market research agent channel. So I'm going to select private channel there, market research agent, and then the text is whatever comes from the agent's response. So you can see here that there's an element for the agent response. So I'm going to drag it over there. And then another thing I want to do is if I go to the advanced settings here, I want to make sure that the message gets sent to a thread. So for that, I need to click here and then I need to add the timestamp of the message in there because every Slack thread is tied to a specific timestamp. So if I want the message to be sent into a thread that is under that message, I need to set thread message ID here as the timestamp of the initial message that was sent in the channel. Then another thing I want to do is I want to name this the app market research agent, because if I don't do that, it will just say that the make app responded instead of the market research agent. So that's it. And then what you also need to do is create a connection that is a bot connection. So before I created a connection, when I was setting up this module, I created a connection to my Slack workspace. But when you're setting up this module, you actually need to set up a connection that is bot based, right? Because if you don't do that, then the message will be sent as if it's you, right? So it will say that, I'll show you an example here. Let me see. If I go here, you can see in this workspace, my name is Trevor, and the responses from the agent come as if I'm Trevor, right? So it says Trevor instead of market research agent. So to make sure that that doesn't happen, you need to create a bot connection. So you click here, you initiate the connection process, and then here, I think it will just again add, it would just add the install the Make app on the Slack workspace once again, but this time it will create this bot connection. So it's just like a little thing that you need to keep in mind there. So now if I save this and save the scenario and run this again, and I say hello here, let's see, it gets triggered, the agent is generating a response, and then we should get a message that gets sent to the thread. The agent, the app is called Market Research Agent, and actually we can also change the icon of the app by editing. There's a field here called icon URL, so you can actually pass a URL to an image that you want to use as an icon. Pretty cool. Now, there will actually be an issue here. Once I go ahead, so far I've just been testing the scenario by running it once. But if I turn this scenario to on, which means that it will automatically get triggered every time that a message comes into this channel, then there will be an issue. And the issue, let's run it and you'll see. I want to show you these things because while setting this up, you might run into the same issues. So it's good to see how I'm troubleshooting it. So I'm going to turn it on, save. So this means that it will get triggered as soon as a new message comes in automatically. Inactive, okay, now it's active. Okay, so if I go here now and I say hello again, scenario gets triggered. A message gets sent. But what you'll see now in a second is that, you see, another run gets triggered. And this is actually going to be an infinite loop. So it will continue getting triggered again and again and again. And the reason for this, and you can see like all these messages are just being spammed in here. So I need to go and stop it. Force stop. Okay. Now, the reason this is happening is because the events that come from Slack do not get filtered. So what happens is that the bot sends a response, right? But then the response of the bot is being treated as a new message. So that message gets sent, it gets captured in the scenario, and then another response gets generated, it gets sent, then it gets detected again as a new message, and it's like an infinite loop that never stops. So what we need to do here is we actually need to filter the events that come in. So we are only processing events that are coming from an actual user, not a bot. So what we need to do is go here to this filter icon, and I'm gonna name it not bot. And the conditions that need to be met in order for the message to pass through is that bot profile does not exist, right? So that's the element that appears when the message is sent by bot into the channel. And subtype is not equal to bot message. And subtype is not equal to channel join. So this will also filter out the channel join. There's like little messages like this one here that gets sent when somebody joins a channel. We don't want those to pass through either. So these are the conditions that will filter out any message that is coming from a bot. So all the messages that are sent through an agent are coming from a user. Now, if I save this again and turn on the scenario, save, this message basically means that all these bot messages that were sent before and were not processed, it asks us if we want to process them now or we delete them, and I always delete them because I want to start fresh here. So turn on the scenario, save. I'll go back here to the inspection page to see what's happening, and then if I go back to my channel, hello, a new message should come in. Here for some reason it doesn't get triggered. Delete all data, delete. Okay, now it's active. Let me refresh the page again. Okay, the scenario is now active. Let me send it one more time. Hello. Okay, so the agent is processing the message and we get the thread created. Here's the response. And now you can see that it tried to, an event was sent and it tried to trigger an agent request. However, the bot filtered out the message because it had a bot profile. So this is now working. Now, we now have an agent, right, that is able to respond to requests. However, this agent does not have the tools to do anything, right? It only is only able to give a response here, a broad response that says that it can do different things. But actually, if we say, for example, I want you to do market analysis, I want you to go and look in the web to find information about the latest news on AI agents, it will not be able to do that because it doesn't have any access. It doesn't have any tools. Now, to give this agent some tools, what we need to do is hover over this plus icon here and then select Add Tool. And here we have some built-in tools that Make provides. So there is a Make AI web search module. There is a tool which enables us to trigger another agent, also cool. We can run some code. We have the ability to add, give the agent some knowledge. So if we want to upload some files that the agent will reference while generating the responses, this is the module that does that. We can trigger other scenarios. We can attach an MCP client. What I want to do for this particular agent is give it access to the web. So I'm going to select this built-in tool here. I'm going to select generate a response. And here we define the tool name. So I can just name this web search. And then in the tool description, it says generate a response from web search. Can also access specific URLs. That's fine for a description. And then the text here, so this is the input, right? This is the input that the tool will use in order to perform its web search. And I actually want the agent to provide this because based on the type of request, it needs to perform research using different keywords, different search criteria. So I want the agent to decide that because if I deselect that, I need to enter a specific search term, for example, or a specific URL that it needs to go and look at. So I want the agent to orchestrate this and figure out what the right input is there. So now the agent can access the web, right? So that's a great step forward. You can actually do quite a lot with that because I can go now here and hello, I want you to research the web and find me the latest in the AI agents market. All right, so the agent will now get triggered. There we go. And it will perform its research using the web search tool, right? So you see it's calling it and it's researching the web. If you want to see what the agent is actually doing, you can click into the scenario here and you can see the operations. So here is searched for the latest news and developments in the AI agents market 2026, include major product launches and company announcements. Then it performed another search here, AI agents market size, growth forecast, and market share 2026, top companies and startups, right? So it's figuring out all these search terms by itself. And then once it's done, it will compile everything and generate a response. Now, something that I also like to do with my agents is create like a typing indicator, because currently you see that I sent a message, but I don't get any response back until the agent finishes its execution. And this can be not a great user experience, especially if you want to add this agent to your Slack. If you want to give access to this agent so your team can use it, from a user experience perspective, you can improve it a little bit by adding a typing indicator. And I'm going to show you how to do that later on. But now you can see here that it completed its research and it gave me here the latest intelligence. So what is the market and size, market size and growth of this industry, major product launches, enterprise adoption trends, top use cases, competitive landscape, key signals to watch out. And then it asks me what I want to do next. Now, another thing we can do here, because personally I don't like to receive this information in the Slack channel, what I can do is I can actually ask it to, or first of all, I need to give it access to a Google Docs tool. So it can put its research in a Google Doc document and then give me the link to that Google Doc document so I can open it, and then I can also make edits, make adjustments. I think that's a good tool to have there. So I'm going to select the Create a Document tool. The agent will define the name, they will define the content, and then the files will get stored in my Google Drive. And I'm going to select the document location here. I'm just going to allow it to store in the root directory. So basically in the main folder. Save. And what I can do is go back here, even on the same thread. This should work. Actually, one thing that I need to do here is I need to tell it, I'm going to give it some details here on the content, because I know that the content needs to be in HTML, so it's nicely formatted on the document. Anyway, so put this research in a new Google Doc. So now if I go back to my inspection page here, the agent should soon be triggered. There we go. And since it now has access, what happened there? I'd be happy to help you put the research in a Google Doc. However, I need a bit more information. Can you please tell me what topic? Okay. So something I forgot to do is give the agent memory, right? Because currently, what happens is the agent responds in a thread, but then if I ask it a follow-up question, right? If I have a follow-up request, it doesn't actually, is not able to reference the conversation history, right? And this is actually an easy fix. What I need to do is go to the agent configuration here. And here I need to provide it with a conversation ID, right? So a conversation ID will allow the agent to go back and look at the history of the conversation and get the context that it needs in order to be able to respond with a relevant, be able to generate a relevant response based on the context of the request. So here, what we can use as a conversation identifier is actually the timestamp of the Slack message, because this is always unique. And what you need to enter here is actually if empty thread timestamp, then use timestamp. Now, what this means is that if a thread does not already exist, then it needs to use the timestamp of the message, or of like the parent message. But if a thread timestamp already exists, then it needs to use that as the value of the conversation ID. And the reason it needs to be this way is because Slack, like the Slack event payloads are a bit funky. So sometimes there is, I think when a thread is already existing, then the thread timestamp will have a value. But if the thread does not exist, then only the timestamp element will have a value. And this might be a configuration on the make end. I'm not really sure. But through my experimentation here, I figured out that this is what you need to pass in this field here in order for it to work. Anyway, so now I'm going to save it, save the scenario again. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to just copy paste this prompt. Actually, I think that's not going to work because it did not save the conversation history so far. So I'm going to start again and I'm going to tell it to perform the research just so it from now on it stores all the messages in its memory. So it's able to reference that history when I ask it to put the research in a doc. So the agent gets triggered, it performs its research, and then it comes back with the findings. And now I'm going to say, put this research in a doc. So now you can see that it gets triggered again, and it should figure out that it needs to call this Google Docs module here. There we go. So it created the Google Doc and it gave me a link. So now if I open this, there is my research, right? So the agent now has two tools and it's able to figure out which one to call based on the instructions that I'm giving it. Now to add a typing indicator, all you need to do is go here and between the watching your events and the agent module, what you need to do is add a new module, search for Slack again, and then the module that we want to use is called make an API call. So this allows us to define a custom API call because this is the functionality that is not provided directly by the native Make Slack integrations. And what I need to do is actually move this filter over to this side. So I'm going to have to create it again. I'm going to remove the filter from this part here. So I'm just going to remove those conditions, save. And now I can configure this module here by selecting my bot connection. So this is the same connection that I selected in this module here. And then for URL, you need to type assistant.threads.setStatus, just like that. It will be a post request. Content type application /JSON, that's correct. And then in the body, you need to enter this payload here, which needs to have a channel ID that will be equal to the channel element that is coming from this module. The thread TS, which will actually be the same as the value that we have here in the conversation ID. So I'm going to copy and paste it right there. And status will be is thinking. So this is basically, actually, I think this will not even, show up. Let's see. So is thinking, save the scenario. And then now if I go back here and I say hello, there you go. So now we can see that the make scenario is getting triggered. It's doing something, right? And as soon as it generates a response and it sends it to the thread, it stops showing that typing message. So that's cool. We don't need to disable the typing indicator after the message is generated. Same here if I say do research on AI, right? We should get another typing, there we go, typing indicator. Now this is something that is provided by Slack natively. So these messages that appear here underneath the typing indicator, I didn't have to provide them. They are auto-generated by Slack, and usually it's just some random words. But yeah, so now there is this typing indicator that tells the user that something is happening, right? So it improves a little bit the user experience. Now the other thing that I want to improve here is the formatting of the messages. So I'm going to go to my agent and I'm going to add some output formatting instructions. And all I'm going to say here, and I'm going to do some markdown so it knows that this is a new section. Output the generated response in Slack Markdown format. I think that should do it, actually. Let's try. Hello. Typing indicator appears. And there we go, right? So the message is much more nicely formatted now. So we now have a fairly broad make agent that is linked to a Slack channel. We're able to interact with it and pass different inputs each time. It's able to process those inputs and using the tools that it has access to generate a useful output for us. Now, if we want to turn this into a more specialized agent, this is where we need to basically refine our instructions. And what you say in the instructions, of course, depends on the use case that you have. However, the key difference between a broad agent and a specialized agent is that a specialized agent will contain a very specific set of tasks or steps that it needs to execute each time. So here I'm going to say steps, right? And I would say number one, let's say that we want this agent to always search ensure that the user has given a topic market that they want to research, right? So if the user didn't give a market, then it will ask them to do that. Search the web using the web search tool, right? So that's another thing that I do with a specialized agent is I tell it exactly which tools I want it to use. I don't want it to guess which tools to use. I want to remove as much of the guesswork, as much of the thinking as possible, and tell it exactly what to do and with what tool. Search the web using the web search tool to get information about the market size. Number three, search the web again using the web search tool to find the latest news in this market. Then create a doc using the Google Docs tool that will contain a market size and a market news section, right? Very, very specific. Then number five, create a response that contains the doc URL. Okay, so save. Hello, I want you to cook some burgers for me. Let's see what it does now. It should first ask me to provide it with a market, right? So, hello, I'd love to help you, but I'm actually set up as your market researcher, not a chef, blah, blah, blah. For example, if you're interested, I can do burger fast food market, include the market size, market news. Just let me know the specific market you'd like to research, right? So this is what I wanted to see in the response. I wanted to ask me the market. So I'm going to say, yes, go ahead. I'm curious about the, with the burger market. I'm curious about the burger. I love burgers. So let's see what it finds for the burger market. And here it is. So your burger market research report is ready. Here's the link. So if I click on the link, we open up the burger market research report. And here we have two sections, market size and market news, right? So the agent has followed the instructions and has generated that specific output, right? So this is the difference. And of course, you can keep refining. The more specialized and more constrained that you want the agent to be, the more tight you want to make the instructions. Be very specific about what you want it to do with what tools, how to format the data, how to interact with the data, like be very specific, and that's how you build a specialized agent. Now, a specialized agent can also more easily be integrated into a business automation, a workflow that gets triggered either on a set schedule or when an event takes place. For example, let's say our team wants to use an agent as part of a research process for market entry evaluation. They give us this spreadsheet where they enter new markets that they want to evaluate, and they want an agent to automatically get triggered whenever there is a new market on the list to perform the research and then fill out these rows with the required data points. Now, to automate this process, what I did is I created a new scenario and I copied pasted the agent from the other scenario. The reason for this is because this scenario will have different triggering requirements. It will need to be triggered based on data changes on a spreadsheet, right? So it's no longer going to be triggered via Slack. It's going to be triggered by Google Sheets. Now, what I will do is I will right click here to add a new module, and I will search for the Google Sheets app. We'll click on the Google Sheets app, and then inside here I will find the search rows module. Now, the way I want this to work is I want this scenario to be triggered every few minutes, let's say every 10 minutes, and I want it to look into this spreadsheet here and retrieve all the rows that have researched equal to yes. Actually, sorry, not the research. This should be called research. So it's like a command word. I want you to research this row. So my team might go in and add some markets here, and then whenever they're ready for the market to be researched, they need to add a yes in this column. So that's how the scenario will pull that row and execute the research with the agent. Right, so that will be the condition there. So what I need to do here is I already went ahead and connected my Google Sheet account. You just click add, and it will take you through the process of connecting to Google. Then here I need to select my spreadsheet. It's called market evaluation. Sheet name will be sheet 1. That's the name of the sheet, as you can see here. And then the condition for the row to be retrieved is that the research is equal to yes. And then what I need to do is move this, again, this clock icon, sorry about that, move it from the agent to the Google Sheet module, because this will now be the trigger of the scenario. I will connect it to the agent. And let's see what's missing here. Why is this complaining? It's complaining because it wasn't connected. Okay, fine. So now the Google Sheet is connected to the agent. Now, if I go into the agent here, in the input, I need to pass the, what do I need to pass? The agent needs to take a market. So market, and then I will pass the market value from column A. So that's the market it needs to research. And now I actually need to adjust the instructions of the agent a little bit, because it needs to be, the output of the agent needs to be very specific. I want it to give me the market size, the market stage. So market stage, I think of it more as kind of like, is this an emerging market, a market that is growing? Is it a mature market? I want that to be the stage that it indicates here. Then the number of top competitors in that space, and then the latest news. So the latest news, I wanted to put them in a Google Sheet, in a Google Doc, and then I will link that Google Doc in this field. Now here in the steps, ensure that the user has given a market that they want to research. Yes. Search the web using the web search tool to get information about the market size. So this is where I need to say market size, stage of the market, emerging, growing, or mature, number of key competitors, Yes, so that's what I wanted to find. And then search the web again to find the latest news in the market. Then create a doc using Google Docs that will contain the market news, right? So that's all. That's the only thing I want in the doc this time. And then create a response that contains the market size, stage of market, number of key competitors, and market news doc URL, right? So these are the steps. Now, the output formatting instructions would also need to change because we're no longer generating a Slack message as a response. We now need to generate a JSON actually would be best. So output a JSON object in the format matching, I would say, matching the format provided in your response. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set a response format. So this is a great way to make the response format even more kind of like deterministic, because here you can put it into the configuration of the agent rather than putting it into the prompt. So I can go here to response format, say data structure, and I'm going to create an item for every element that I want to have in the JSON object. So I already defined this here. So market size would be the name. Then in the description, I'm going to put the size of the market in dollars. Type will be text, yes, and it is required. Then add another item. This would be stage. And it would be the stage of the market description. I think there is a way to, it's fine. I would say it can either be emerging, growing, or mature, right? It should be able to select from those. This is also required. Add item, number of competitors. So this is the number, I would say, a number between 1 and 10. If there are more than 10 key competitors, output 10 plus required. And then finally, we need to have the doc URL. So this is the URL of the Google Doc that contains the market news, right? And this is also required. So that is the output format, the response structure. And what we need to do now is pass this data back to the Google Sheet, right? So I'm going to search for Google Sheet again here. And this time what we need to do is update a row, right? So we already have the rows that we are doing research on. What we need to do is update the data elements, the columns of these rows. So this is the correct module. I'm going to select the spreadsheet again. Market evaluation. And then sheet name is 1. Now the row number, this we will actually get from this module, right? Because this module already has context on which row we are working on. And you can see that here. This is the row number. So we just select that. Contains label headers, yes. Okay. So here, what we need to update is the size. So you can see if I go to my... I think I need to execute the agent once in order to get some elements. Let me just run this module. Market would be AI agents. I will let it run once, and by running it once, it should create an output. So it will then allow me to map the output elements to the Google Sheets updated row module. Okay, so the agent has finished its execution. And if I go here to output and I go to JSON response, you can see the different data elements that it generated. So now if I go to update a row here and I go to size, here's a JSON response, and now you can see the data elements. So here's market size, and I see did a mistake there that I need to correct. Stage is emerging. Number of competitors there. Latest news, this is the doc URL. And then research now, I will actually set this to be an empty string. Basically, I will remove the yes from the row, from the research column on the row, so the agent does not get triggered automatically again the next time that it polls this Google Sheet, right? Because if I don't update this, every time that the agent, every time that the scenario runs, it will retrieve the same row again because it's marked as yes. So I need to make sure that the yes gets removed from there, and the way to do that is by setting the value of the column to empty string. So save, that should now work. And what I noticed is that when I just executed the agent just now, the market here, the market size contains a long text, like a paragraph, right? And we don't want that. So we want to specify here on the market size element in the response structure that it needs to be a number that indicates the size of the market in dollars. Example, 200 million or something like that. And then another mistake it did, if I go here to the output, no, that's it. Actually, I also want to change the stage, so it can either be emerging, growing, or mature. I want this to be capitalized. So that's it, save. And now let's try it out. So I'm going to say yes to AI agents, yes to RAG orchestration. Let's try these two. I'm going to run the scenario once. All right, so the scenario has finished executing, and here we can see the results. So it performed the research for the two rows. And the only problem here is that, again, it didn't just put the number in dollars. It also gave a little projection, which I could fix. I could make the instructions even more strict. But actually, I think it is helpful because you can see kind of like what the market is, the size of the market right now, but also what the market and information that we have about the projection of that market in the future. So unless the end user of this report needs this number to be in a specific format, I'm not going to go ahead and change that right now, even though I could, by making the instructions more strict. So I'm just going to leave it like that for now. Now, the final thing I'll do here for my testing is I'm going to go back to the scenario. I'm going to define the trigger settings. So this is the interval at which the scenario will get triggered, right? Automatically get triggered. And we said that we want this to be every 10 minutes. So I'm going to set this to 10. And I'm going to activate this scenario. So now the scenario will get triggered every 10 minutes to check if any of these rows are marked as yes. And if it finds any, it will process them. If not, then it will just stop there. All right, so here we are. The agent finished its execution, and here are the results. So that's it. That's how you integrate a specialized agent into a business automation. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful and you now have your first Make AI agent. I will be very curious to see what you build, so come join me in my community. The link will be below in the description, and there you can also ask any questions that may have come up. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.